Garl, absolutely. Man, we gotta play some more Sea of Stars. Sometime soon, we'll hop back on into it. I'm enjoying that game a lot. All right, let's read. Chapter 6, The Naked Sword. Sorry, that's the wrong one. Chapter 7, The White Rose is what we're on. Wrong bookmark. Okay. Chapter 7, The White Rose. I was too quick for Colonel Galliard. As he raised his sword, reckless of all consequences, my condign punishment, and quite resolved to cleave me to the teeth, I struck him across the side of the head with a heavy stick, and while he staggered back, I struck him another blow, nearly in the same place that felled him to the floor, where he lay as if dead. I did not care one of his own regimental buttons, whether he was dead or not. I was at that moment carried away by such a tumult of delightful and diabolical emotions. I broke his sword under my foot and flung the pieces across the street. The old Count de Saint-Hilaire skipped nimbly without looking to the right or left, or thanking anybody, over the floor, out the door, down the steps, and into his carriage. Instantly, I was at the side of the beautiful Countess, thus left to shift for herself. I offered my arm, which she took, and I led her to the carriage. She entered and I shut the door. All this without a word. I was about to ask if there were any commands with which she would honor me. My hand was laid upon the lower edge of the window, which was open. The lady's hand was laid upon mine timidly and excitedly. Her lips almost touched my cheek as she whispered hurriedly, "I may never see you more, and oh, that I could forget you. Go, farewell. For God's sake, go!" I pressed her hand for a moment. She withdrew it, but tremblingly pressed into mine the rose which she had held in her fingers during the agitating scene she had just passed through. All this took place while the Count was commanding, entreating, cursing his servants, tipsy and out of the way during the crisis. My conscience afterwards insinuated by my clever contrivance. They now mounted to their places with the agility of alarm. The postilions' whips cracked, the horses scrambled to a trot, and away rolled the carriage with its precious freightage along the quaint main street in the moonlight towards Paris. I stood on the pavement till it was quite lost to eye and ear in the distance. With a deep sigh, I then turned, my white rose folded in my handkerchief, the little parting gage, the favor secret, sweet and precious, which no mortal eye but hers and mine had seen conveyed to me. The care of the host of the Belle Étoile and his assistants had raised the wounded hero of 100 fights partly against the wall, and propped him at each side with portmanteaus and pillows, and poured a glass of brandy, which was duly placed to his account, into his big mouth, where for the first time such a godsend remained unswallowed. A bald-headed little military surgeon of 60 with spectacles who had cut off 78 legs and arms of his own share, having retired with his sword and his saw, his laurels and his sticking plaster to this, his native town, was called in, and rather thought the gallant colonel's skull was fractured. At all events, there was a concussion at the seat of thought, and quite enough work for his remarkable self-healing powers to occupy him for a fortnight. I began to grow a little uneasy. A disagreeable surprise if my excursion, in which I was to break banks and hearts, and as you see, heads, should end upon the gallows or the guillotine. I was not clear in these times of political oscillation which was the established apparatus. The colonel was conveyed snoring apoplectically to his room. I saw my host in the apartment in which we had supped. Wherever you employ a force of any sort to carry a point of real importance, reject all nice calculations of economy. Better to be 1,000% over the mark than the smallest fraction of a unit under it. I instinctively felt this. I ordered a bottle of my landlord's very best wine, made him partake with me, in the proportion of 2 glasses to 1, and then told him he must not decline a trifling souvenir from a guest who had been so charmed with all he'd seen of the renowned Belle Étoile. Thus saying, I placed 35 Napoleons in his hand, a touch of which his countenance, by no means encouraging before, grew sunny. His manners thawed, and it was plain as he dropped the coins hastily into his pocket that benevolent relations had been established between us. I immediately placed the colonel's broken head upon the tapis. We both agreed that if I had not given him the rather smart tap of my walking cane, he would have beheaded half the inmates of the Belle Étoile. There was not a waiter in the house who could not verify this statement under oath. The reader may suppose that I had other motives beside the desire to escape the tedious inquisition of the law, for desiring to recommence my journey to Paris with the least possible delay. Judge what was my horror then to learn that, for love or money, horses were nowhere to be had that night. The last pair in the town had been obtained from the Écu de France by a gentleman who dined and supped at the Belle Étoile and was obliged to proceed to Paris that night. Who was the gentleman? Had he actually gone? Could he possibly be induced to wait till morning? The gentleman was now upstairs getting his things together, and his name was Monsieur Droqueville. I ran upstairs. I found my servant St. Clair in my room. At sight of him, for a moment, my thoughts were turned to a different channel. "Well, St. Clair, tell me the moment who the lady is," I demanded. The lady is the daughter or wife, it matters not which, of the Countess St. Hilaire. The old gentleman who was so near being sliced like a cucumber tonight, I am informed, by the sword of the general, whom monsieur, by a turn of fortune, has to be put to a bed of apoplexy. Use your tongue, fool. The man's beastly drunk. He's sulking. He could talk if he liked. Who cares? Pack up my things. Which are Monsieur Droqueville's apartments? He knew, of course. He always knew everything. Half an hour later, Monsieur Droqueville and I were traveling toward Paris in my carriage and with his horses. I ventured to ask the Marquis d'Armenville in a little while whether the lady who accompanied the Count was certainly the Countess. Has he not a daughter? Yes, I believe a very beautiful and charming young lady. I cannot say. It may have been she, his daughter by an earlier marriage. I only saw the Count himself today. The Marquis was growing a little sleepy, and in a while, he actually fell asleep in his corner. I dozed and nodded, but the Marquis slept like a top. He awoke only for a minute or two at the next posting house, where he had fortunately secured horses by sending on his man. "You will excuse my being so dull a companion," he said, "but till tonight I have had but 2 hours of sleep for more than 60 hours. I shall have a cup of coffee here. I have had my nap. Permit me to recommend you to do likewise. The coffee is really excellent." He ordered 2 cups of café noir and waited, with his head from the window. "We will keep the cups," he said as he received them from the waiter, "and the tray. Thank you." There was a little delay as he paid for these things, and he took in the little tray and handed me a cup of coffee. I declined the tray, so he placed it on his own knees to act as a miniature table. "I can't endure being waited for and hurried," he said. "I like to sip my coffee at leisure." I agreed. It really was the perfection of coffee. I, like Monsieur le Marquis, have slept very little for the last 2 or 3 nights, and find it difficult to keep awake. The coffee will do wonders for me. It refreshes me so. Before we had half done, the carriage was again in motion. For a time, our coffee made us chatty, and our conversation was animated. The Marquis was extremely good-natured as well as clever, and gave me a brilliant and amusing account of Parisian life, schemes and dangers, all put so as to furnish me with practical warnings of the most valuable kind. In spite of the amusing and curious stories which the Marquis related with so much point and order, I felt myself again becoming gradually drowsy and dreamy. Perceiving this, no doubt, the Marquis good-naturedly suffered our conversation to subside into silence. The window next to him was open. He threw his cup out of it and did the same kind office for mine. And finally, the little tray flew after, and I heard it clank on the road. Valuable waif, no doubt, for some early wayfarer in wooden shoes. I leaned back in my corner. I had my beloved souvenir, my white rose, close to my heart, folded now in white paper. It inspired all manner of romantic dreams. I began to grow more and more sleepy, but actual slumber did not come. I was still viewing with my half-closed eyes from my corner, diagonally the interior of the carriage. I wished for sleep, but the barrier between waking and sleeping seemed absolutely insurmountable, and instead I entered a state of novel and indescribable indolence. The Marquis lifted his dispatch box from the floor, placed it on his knees, unlocked it, and took what proved to be a lamp, which he hung with 2 hooks. Attached to it, the window opposite him. He lighted it with a match, put on his spectacles, and taking out a bundle of letters, began to read them very carefully. We were making way very slowly. My impatience had hitherto employed 4 horses from stage to stage. We were, in this emergency, only too happy to have secured 2, but the difference in pace was depressing. I grew tired of the monotony of seeing the spectacled Marquis reading, folding, docketing, letter after letter. I wished to shut out the image which wearied me, but something prevented me from being able to shut my eyes. I tried again and again, but positively I had lost the power of closing them. I would have rubbed my eyes, but I could not stir my hand. My will no longer acted on my body. I found I could not move one joint or muscle no more than I could by an effort of my will have turned the carriage about. Up to this, I had experienced no sense of horror. Whatever it was, this simple nightmare was not the cause. I was awfully frightened. Was I in a fit? It was horrible to see my good-natured companion pursue his occupation so serenely when he might have dissipated my horrors by a single shake. I made a stupendous exertion to call out, but in vain. I repeated the effort again and again with no result. My companion now tied up his letters and looked out the window, humming an air from an opera. He drew back his head and said, turning to me, "Yes, I see the lights. We shall be there in 2 or 3 minutes." He looked more closely at me, and with a kind smile and a little shrug, he said, "Poor child, how fatigued he must have been. How profoundly he sleeps. When the carriage stops, he will waken." He then replaced his letters in the box, locked it, put the spectacles in his pocket, and again looked out of the window. We had entered a little town. I suppose it was past 2 o'clock by this time. The carriage drew up. I saw an inn door open and light issuing from it. "Here we are," said my companion, turning gaily to me. But I did not awake. "Yes, how tired he must have been," he exclaimed after he waited for an answer. My servant was at the carriage door and opened it. "Your master sleeps so soundly. He is so fatigued. It'd be cruel to disturb him. You and I will go in while they change the horses and take some refreshment and choose something Monsieur Beckett will like to take in the carriage. For when he awakes, by and by, he will, I am sure, be hungry." He trimmed his lamp, poured in some oil, taking care not to disturb me. With another kind smile and another word of caution to my servant, he got out, and I heard him talking to St. Clair as they entered the inn door, and I was left in my corner in the carriage, in the same state. End of chapter 7. So that's interesting. That all of a sudden he's like locked in his body. Kay thinks there's something in that coffee. It's a pretty, a pretty big display of wealth to be like, we're going to buy the cups and tray to take with us and drink coffee at our leisure. And then when you're done the coffee, yeet them out the carriage on your journey. Yeah. It seems sus a little bit to me. Nobody can test them for substances. Very weird. All right, you guys, this is your last chance to drop in. This is a loyalty token chest. You have just under a minute to go. Willie, you're running it. Why would he even take him with? He could have easily been like, sorry, Sonny, I'm taking my horses alone. So I think, when he found out that the last two horses were heading to Paris, he was like, look, I'm trying to get to Paris. I have a carriage, but no horses to rent. And you have horses, but no carriage. Can we, do you want to hook your buddy up and we can journey together? Yeah. Yeah, it was, pretty serendipitous that they both needed it, I think. Thank you guys so much for dropping in on this battle. 20 allies on the battlefield. Let's go take them out. I hope you guys get some good rewards, rank you up in the event. We're going to do one more battle after this. We have one more chapter to read. I'm really glad that we were able to get to the token chest this time around. Great job, you guys. Snooze and Famous Taco getting our random reward, or getting our most kills and assists, but Skizzy? I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Getting our random reward. Great job. Woo! Leveled me up in the event. Thank you for all the rewards. Hooray. All right. All right, you guys, here we go. Our final battle. We'll be checking back in on that. After our final chapter of the evening. Okay. Why don't we, so that we don't have to leave our poor narrator stuck in this stasis, let's check up on him. He's having a bit of a rough day. All right. Let's hop on into chapter 8. A 3 minutes visit. I have suffered extreme and protracted bodily pain at different periods of my life. But anything like that misery, thank God, I never endured before or since. I earnestly hope it may not resemble any type of death which we are liable to. I was indeed a spirit in prison, and unspeakable was my dumb and unmoving agony. The power of thought remained clear and active. Dull terror filled my mind. How would this end? Was it actual death? You will understand that my faculty of observing was unimpaired. I could hear and see anything as distinctly as I ever did in my life. It was simply that my will had, as it were, lost its hold of my body. I told you that the Marquis d'Armenville had not extinguished his carriage lamp on going to this village inn. I was listening intently, longing for his return, which might result by some lucky accident in awaking me from my catalepsy. Without any sounds of steps approaching to announce an arrival, the carriage door suddenly opened, and a total stranger got in silently and shut the door. The lamp gave about as strong a light as a wax candle, so I could see the intruder perfectly. He was a young man with a gray, loose surtout made of a sort of hood, which was pulled over his head. I thought as he moved that I saw the gold band of a military undress cap under it, and I certainly saw the lace and buttons of a uniform on the cuffs of the coat that were visible under the wide sleeves of his outside wrapper. This young man had thick mustaches and an imperial, and I observed he had a red scar running upward from the lip across his cheek. He entered, shut the door softly, and sat down beside me. It was all done in a moment, leaning toward me and shading his eyes with his gloved hand. He examined my face closely for a few seconds. The man had come as noiselessly as a ghost, and everything he did was accomplished with a rapidity and decision that indicated a well-defined and prearranged plan. His designs were evidently sinister. I thought he was going to rob and perhaps murder me. I lay, nevertheless, like a corpse under his hands. He inserted his hand into my breast pocket, from which he took my precious white rose and all the letters it contained, along which was a paper of some consequence to me. My letters he glanced at. They were plainly not what he wanted. My precious rose, too, he laid aside with them. It was evidently about the paper I had mentioned that he was concerned. For the moment he opened it, he began with a pencil in a small pocketbook to make rapid notes. This man seemed to glide through his work with a noiseless and cool celerity, which argued, I thought, the training of the police department. He rearranged the papers, possibly in the very order in which he had found them, replaced them in my breast pocket, and was gone. His visit, I think, did not quite last 3 minutes. Very soon after his disappearance, I heard the voice of the Marquis once more. He got in, and I saw him look at me and smile, half envying me, I fancied, my sound repose, if he had but known all. He resumed his reading and docketing by the light of the little lamp, which had just subserved the purposes of a spy. We were now out of the town, pursuing our journey at the same moderate pace. We had left the scene of my police visit, as I should have termed it, now 2 leagues behind us, when I suddenly felt a strange throbbing in one ear, and a sensation as if air passed through it into my throat. It seemed as if a bubble of air formed deep in my ear, swelled and burst there. The indescribable tension of my brain seemed all at once to give way. There was an odd humming in my head and a sort of vibration through every nerve in my body, such as I have experienced in a limb that has been, in popular phraseology, asleep. I uttered a cry and half rose from my seat and fell back trembling with a sense of mortal faintness. The Marquis stared at me, took my hand, and earnestly asked if I was ill. I could answer only with a deep groan. Gradually, the process of restoration was completed, and I was able, though very faintly, to tell him how very ill I had been, and then to describe the violation of my letters during the time of his absence from the carriage. "Good heaven!" he exclaimed. "The miscreant did not get at my box." I satisfied him so far as I observed on that point. placed the box on the seat beside him, opened and examined its contents very minutely.
Yes, undisturbed. All safe, thank heaven, he murmured. There are half a dozen letters here that I would not have some people read for a great deal.
He now asked with a very kind anxiety all about the illness I complained of. When he heard me, he said,
A friend of mine once had an attack like yours as possible. Was on board ship and followed a state of high excitement. He was a brave man like you and was called on to exert both his strength and his courage suddenly. An hour or two after, fatigue overpowered him and he appeared to fall into a sound sleep. He really sank into a state which he afterward described, so that I think it must have been precisely the same affection as yours.
I'm happy to think my attack was not unique. Did he ever experience a return of it?
I knew him for years after and never heard of any such thing. What strikes me as a parallel to the predisposing causes of such an attack. Your unexpected and gallant hand-to-hand encounter, such at desperate odds with an experienced swordsman like that insane colonel of dragoons. Your fatigue. And finally, your composing myself as my other friend did to sleep. I wish, he resumed, one could make out who the coquin who has examined your letters. It is not worth turning back, however, because we should learn nothing. These people always manage so adroitly. I am satisfied, however, that he must have been an agent of the police. A rogue of any other kind would have robbed you.
We talked very little, I being ill and exhausted, but the Marquis talked on agreeably.
We grow so intimate, said he at last, that I must remind you I am not for the present the Marquis d'Armenville, but only Monsieur Droqueville. Nevertheless, when we get to Paris, although I cannot see you often, I may be of use. I shall ask you to name me to the hotel in which you mean to put up, because the Marquis being, as you are unaware, on his travels, the Hôtel d'Armenville is, for the present, tenanted only by 2 or 3 servants, who must not even see Monsieur Droqueville. That gentleman will, nevertheless, contrive to get you access to the box of Monsieur de la Marquis at the Opera as well, possibly to other places, much more difficult. And so soon as the diplomatic office of the Marquis d'Armenville is ended, and he is at liberty to declare himself, he will not excuse his friend, Monsieur Beckett, from fulfilling his promise to visit him this autumn at the Chateau d'Armenville.
You may be sure that I thanked the Marquis. The nearer we got to Paris, the more I valued his protection. The countenance of a great man on the spot just then, taking so kind an interest in the stranger whom he had, as it were, blundered upon, might make my visit ever so many more degrees delightful than I had anticipated. Nothing could be more gracious than the manner and looks of the Marquis, and as I still thanked him, the carriage suddenly stopped in front of the place where a relay of horses awaited us, and where, as it turned out, we were to part. End of chapter 8. So that is where we're going to be pausing tonight for the room in the Dragon Volant. Until, I suppose, not next week. And I'll have to take a look at for the week after, because the week after is indeed New Year's Eve. So I will I'll keep you all posted about what's on tap for New Year's Eve. But I can tell you for 100% certainty, I will not be reading next week. I will be at Mama and Papa Snoozes. But this Saturday, we are going to have a bonus reading stream in which I'm going to be reading you my holiday rom-com novella, and for the first time, reading my own work on stream. Aside from, my my grade 9 fantasy novel that I found and read for our charity stream. I do have some things that will kind of keep me occupied in the afternoon, early evening. But I'm anticipating I'm going to shoot for 9 Eastern Saturday. Nobody get mad at me if I'm slightly delayed. But I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to it. I'm also a bit nervous. It's quite vulnerable to read your own work. Something I've never really done before. But it's a project that I was proud of myself for completing. I've never really written a novella and a sort of a short form story before. And I had a lot of fun putting that one together. So if you're able to, I'd love to see y'all there. But I know that this time of year, there's lots of family obligations, work obligations, many holiday things. But I will keep that VOD up. And yeah, we'll have a grand old time. Little bonus stream on Saturday here. So far, I'm really enjoying both of our books. The the House of Pooh Corner, obviously, so precious and nostalgic, but I'm enjoying The Room and the Dragon Volans so far. We're making decent progress. It's not a super long read. It's decently quick and breezy. I think there's we're a quarter of the way through, I reckon, at this stage. Maybe slightly over. Just 20. So we finished chapter 8, and there's 26 chapters, so that's 30%. Fatangle, thanks so much for doing the Poke gift also, by the way. I appreciate that. And I actually got one there. I got the Phantom Ball. Crazy getting the team enhancer. Very kind of you. But, yeah. That's where we're gonna see. Aww. Super fan, thank you so much. Snooze is so fucking amazing. Even Rocky can't handle himself. I don't know if you guys saw during reading that he knocked down one of my knickknacks. Just fully bopped it down on the ground while I was reading. And I had to be stop that. But to not disturb the reading, I had to do it with my eyes and be stop that though. Luna. Goldberry Fairy, welcome. Good to see you. I was multitasking, so I heard it. Thank you so much for the 134 Fatangle. I appreciate that. Been lurking. Oh, well, thank you so much for spending time with us tonight. It's very much appreciated. Your nephew gets to come home early from the hospital. He was born 2 months early. Hey, preemie stuff is no joke, that's for sure. I was like, you know, twins are often preemie, so I was, but 2 months early is quite early, so I'm very glad. Anonymous, thank you so much for gifting a tier 1 sub to Bad Boy Rocky. I appreciate it. Goldberry Fairy, thank you so much for the 100 bits. Aw, you guys kicking off a hype train. That's very, very kind of you. Merry Christmas in case I don't catch you till after the 25th. Thank you. Yes, happy holidays, everyone. Oh, Weed Stalker, thank you so much for the 100 bits. Oh, you guys. Very, very kind of you. I hope the card gets to you an amp before the end of the year. Yes, we in Canada have had no postage from Canada Post. There's been a postage strike for the last like 4+ weeks. So there's a bit of a Christmas backlog. So I'll keep my eyes peeled. But yeah, thank you guys so much. There's so I guess before Christmas I still have three more streams before Christmas, but I will be taking next week off of reading. So we have Friday, which is my next gaming stream. We're gonna be doing so the free update for Vampire Therapist came out. So we're gonna finish Andromacos's story. And I don't think that'll take the full 3 hours. So we'll maybe do something. Sorry, focus camera. We'll do something like a like either a demo or like a bite-sized indie game, or like maybe like a run down the Oregon Trail, like something depending on time. We'll fill some of our extra time there. Adam and I back on Monday. I believe. I'm gonna have to just make sure. I think he said the 23rd was good. But I'll be back Monday with or without Adam. Super fan, thank you so much for gifting us your what's up to Good Girl Luna, Bad Boy Rocky, and Good Girl Luna getting their subs to the channel. I appreciate that. Thank you. Aw, thanks for shouting out Adam Fatangle. Oh, I guess I don't need this music on anymore. Here, let me put on something slightly more bouncy than our moody Dragon Volant music here. Harry and Superfan getting guests from the Weed Stalker. Weed Stalker played the Uno reverse on Superfan, saying you do a gift? No, you receive a gift, actually. You guys have been so generous with the Poke gifts that all of the players who are active have received gifts. Looks like much appreciated. Yeah. So what else? Yeah. That's all of that's the next 3 streams before Christmas that we have coming up here. So yes, taking Christmas Eve off, but we'll be back on the 27th as well for some more gaming. And And then yeah, I'll keep you guys posted on what's the deal with the like whether anything will be happening on the like New Year's Eve reading stream. Otherwise, this might be our last like regular story time until the new year. I'll keep you posted. Hey, Jiro, how's it going? Give Amp a giant hug and an extra snuggle to the kitties. Will do. New Year's 4 years ago. I don't think I'll be doing a New Year's stream this year, but depending on, we might do like reading stream of some variety. You got a legendary Poke Daily, Jiro? Lightsource had a very rare one earlier. So maybe it's maybe they're being generous getting close to the holidays. Did you get any Pokemon with it, Jiro? Thank you guys so much for that hype train. Thank you for that generosity. Very much appreciated. If you got any cool emotes in your hype chest, be sure to show them off. Lilligant. Which one is that one again? Oh, okay, yeah. So it's one of the variants of a Lilligant, huh? Okay, so this is what it looks like compared to the normal Lilligant. My God. Okay. So this is the normal Lilligant here. And this is the variant Jiro got. Very cool. I got a legendary Pokedaily the other day and a Lowland Sandslash and almost 7K. Nice. I was just saying that I am on like such a streak of like commons. It's not going great for me. Oh, cute. You got the Oho Goldberry Fairy. I love that one. Yeah, it's like a really different variant, hey? For the like Christmassy themed ones, I love the oh dear. I think that one's really funny. Yeah, that was our last batch of new emotes that K made. I was in the like same one with the like, what is it? Frozen, Goth, Violence, Pearls, Money. What was it? Notes, Popcorn? Was that the last one? Oh, thank you so much for the gigantified emote, Goldberry Fairy. I appreciate that. It's so cute. Gigantified emotes crack me up. They are so funny. Oh, yes. Yeah, also eyebrows. Yes. All right. Thank you guys so much. You've been dropping in all our battles tonight. It's very much appreciated. This is going to be our final battle of the night. And then we're going to raid out. While we're battling, I'll take a little peek to see. All right, you guys. Thank you so much. 12 allies on that battlefield. Oh! Slevin is playing Dave the Diver, you say? Oh! We love Slevin and Dave the Diver. Go get them! Go get those dinos! Stay alive! Oh, yeah. Uh-oh. 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 Oh. Slime splitting might have saved us. Oh my god. By the skin of our teeth, we did it. Amazing job, Goldaberry Fairy and Famous Taco. Our random reward going to Goldaberry Fairy, who came in clutch with that slime. Claim my quest so I don't forget, because I totally will. All right. It has been an absolute delight, everyone. Thank you so much for spending time with me tonight. We're going to give some love to our buddy Slevin. He is playing Dave the Diver, a game that we have played a bunch on our channel. Very, very fun. Can't wait to see how his little fishing runs are going. So yes, I'm gonna be back Friday with some Vampire Therapist, some of the free story update. All right, you guys. Have a wonderful rest of your week. I'll be back to kick off the start of the weekend, last weekend before Christmas. Thank you guys for all of your great discussion about the books tonight, all your generosity with that hype train. Thank you for spending time with me. It's a busy time of year, and I know how many commitments there are right now. So thank you for being a part of the stream tonight. It always means a lot. All right, you guys. As always, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Stay safe. Know how much I appreciate you being here. And take care. Much love. Have a great rest of your night, you guys. Let's go give our love to Slevin. Let's go check out how Bancho Sushi is rolling. Bye.